So Genghis Khan, born as Temujin in Mongolia, was born in 1162 in Central Asia. So Mongolia is actually between Russia and China, and he was known for many, many insane things in the realm of conquering, especially, and in the name of being a great leader. So he built one of the largest continuous empire in history, the Mongolian Empire, which was from East Asia all the way to parts of Europe as well. So at the time, Mongolia wasn't a unified country, so many of the tribes are surviving on limited resources. They're fighting for power, and it's just wars everywhere. So Temujin, or men like Genghis, was born into no security. It was trouble from the get go. So when he was really really young, his father was poisoned off. No, so his father passed away because he was poisoned, and Genghis, at a very young age, had to take a lot of things in his own hands. So this actually led to him and his family being abandoned by the tribe. So they generally had no father figure in harsh conditions. But fast forward in 1206, he unifies the tribes and declares himself as Genghis Khan, which actually translates to a universal ruler. And a lot of wars and fights and all of that broke out at the time, and he created major, major shifts in history. For the next 2 decades, he had essentially the east of the world on a leash, just bodies dropping. And what made him insane was insane, and what made him just so capable of all these things was his mindset, the systems he had, and the discipline. So we're gonna go through each one of a little. We're gonna go through a little bit of this and break that down. So the first principle we can take is Genghis Khan has a clarity of purpose. So when Genghis Khan was growing up, Mongolia wasn't one nation divided. So it wasn't one nation unified. There's a bunch of countries and regions mixed together. They fought over land and animals and allegiance and revenge. So most of the leaders at the time were thinking really short term, as in, can we just survive this week? If we rule this area, this is enough for this week, or this time. They're never looking at the long-term goal. It was just survival for a small amount of time. But Genghis Khan had a strict rule and a fixed rule, and a fixed goal, which was essentially just to unify everyone under one roof. The main goal was unity because he believed having people in numbers was the way to go. And keep in mind, it's unity. That's the goal right here. He knew, and you want to keep in mind that he had one singular goal. And he knew that he could have easily bodied everyone and just killed everyone, but the repercussions would be much greater. So the main point of this is when your objective is clear and simple, it is very easy to make your next move. So his objective was unify people. His goal is, and his thinking process was, does this event help with my goal of unity? If it does, sweet. If it doesn't, we're not doing this. Very, very simple. It's each of these goals don't support my goal. Each of these items don't support my goal. We're not doing it. And nowadays, people often don't know what to do. That is why they're unable to succeed in things long term. So they often don't know what to do. People get out of school, still don't know what to do. During school, they don't know what to do. During the workplace, they don't know what to do after. People just don't know. So, and they're not clear on one goal. So essentially, they want better fitness, but they also want comfort. They want to be successful, but they also want entertainment. They want respect, but they're going to avoid discomfort. And there's no central objective that's actually guiding their goals. Let's just say your goal is to lose weight. And if any action you do is harming your goal, why would you even go ahead with that? If it's directly against your goal, why would you do it? Is this piece of cake gonna affect my goal negatively? Yes. All right, we're gonna kick it out. Very, very simple. Your goal is to build skill and competence. Your schedule should reflect that. It shouldn't need constant motivation. It should simply be a defined direction. And Genghis Khan didn't build an empire by chasing random opportunities. It was by committing to one decisive goal. Next is merit over status. So merit being ability and status being a name. So before the Mongolians were together, leadership was based off bloodline. If you're born into a ruling family, you will become a ruler. You will, or if your father was someone of a certain kind, you'd get that treatment. Where the difference between a boss and a leader is that the boss is kind of telling what to do and a leader's leading from the front. So Genghis Khan actually changed that as it became more and more popular. He really wanted um, to promote people based off their loyalty, skill, and their actual abilities. He didn't care for who their father was. If someone proved themselves in battle, they were rewarded. If someone was competent and dependable, they were given a certain responsibility. So what this essentially meant is that everyone was equal. Everyone had the same chance as everyone else to prove themselves. Everyone wanted to work hard to survive. And what you'd even used to do is in enemy war, anyone that he found that was capable of being good on his team, or he found someone that was really really good for his team, he'd recruit them. You would put people together, and it's unusual at the time for people to appoint each other. So Genghis was ahead of his time in that regard. He created a place where no one should rely on their own others' abilities to pull them out. It's all on their own. There's no politic here. When people would rely on their own abilities to pull themselves out, that would create much more capable people. The shift did two things. If you want strong, so if you wanted to build strong loyalty within people, it would give them a chance to prove themselves since everyone was equal. Secondly, the structures it was so smart because everyone in the group was capable of taking items on their own. It's purely on performance, and it wouldn't be about them talking well. In a world where we chase status and titles and appearance, trying to look good, status without skill is useful. It's just something that looks nice rather than it is nice. So focus on becoming physically strong. You want to become professional, and you want to how can I say it? You should gain respect not because you demand it, but because you've earned it. Genghis Khan understood that power was built on performance rather than inheritance, and that principle still applies. Whether you're leading an empire or business or just your own life, skill will get you out of the shit. Next is systems over emotions. So once he unified the Mongolian tribes, he didn't rely on loyalty or momentum. He created structure. So one of the ways he did this was he set a rule called yasas, which kind of was like the government bodied rule, and this would create discipline. And the key rule was that it was strict rules, they're consistent, and if people knew that if they're out of line, they would literally be killed. This reduced consequences and this reduced chaos just because everyone knew what the harm was going to be. So if they step out of line, they're literally killed. So it's better to just shut up and keep moving. Gangs can also create systems of having groups of tens, hundreds, thousands, and even 10,000s of people. Each level had its own leadership and responsibility. And what he also did was that if one member of the army fell off, everyone else was capable enough to keep going. So literally everyone was killers. And it was purely built on design. And nowadays people rely too much on how they feel. If they're tired, they won't train. If they're motivated, they'll train. If they rest when things like uncomfortable. And emotion isn't unstable. Emotions are unstable, which is why they change. Systems don't change, which is really, really key. You want to think with this and not your heart. If you have a rule to train at a certain time, you, having that rule eliminates emotion, so it's a non-negotiable. If you schedule work, scheduling has nothing to do with emotions, so you would do it then. The reason system work is because they reduce negotiation within yourselves, and because it's already written out for you. Genghis Khan didn't build power through intensity alone. He built it through creating structures that function even when emotions changed. I saw a thing where someone said, you can never feel ready because ready isn't an emotion. You know what I mean? You have to just be it. It's a state. You know what I mean? And yeah, these structures and these rules really, really help them to take over. And the next rule is adapting. So one of the reasons his empire was just so quickly spreading in such an amazing way is that the Mongolians conquered new regions and they didn't automatically destroy everything. They learned to adapt. They adapted useful technologies, they adapted knowledge from people. They would really, really calculate everything. And if the civilizations were to siege weapons, they would use them. It would all be about adapting. So now the group had advanced engineering or administrative ideas, they would take them. They were open minded and they constantly improved, which is what you need to do. This system is important because many leaders at the time were too proud and stubborn. None of them really wanted to change their ways, as it was more of an ego thing. But adaptability among the empire is what helped them. And in modern life, we have to adapt to all these new changes, and the job market changes, opportunities change, and if you cling too tightly to one identity, and that's just going to cost you. If you're willing to learn, adjust, take a couple bullets, take a couple of hits just to learn and adapt, that you are much better off doing that. And He won because he was willing to adapt. His tactics would change, and he would go against traditional tactics. And additionally, this guy studied a lot before launching major campaigns. You'd study, you look at how the patterns of other teams are. He would look at the people in there. You'd have intel in there, and they understood the supply line. So in many cases, they've already won the battle before it even started. And today we move too quickly. We make financial decisions without understanding the market. We meet people without getting to. We interact with people without knowing what we want from them. We start projects without research. We enter situations emotionally, and if we come in prepared, that will lead you a much longer way. Finally, is fearless. Just to be fearless, fight back. Throughout his campaigns, he often moved faster than the others. He'd take risks that were dangerous, but they're very calculated. He'd cross harsh terrains. He'd move through extreme weather, but they weren't emotional risks. They weren't emotional risks. They were calculated risks. And he understood that hesitation could be more dangerous than actually acting upon it. And there's a difference between reckless and being fearless. So recklessness ignores consequences, and fearlessness understands the risk and moves in a way that you will get through anything. In modern life, fear shows up in many different ways. Not doing something is actually just a result of fear. And I noticed someone said that faking being strong is being strong. Faking having courage is courage, anyways. So we need to be calculated and not waiting until zero doubt. So Genghis Khan didn't expand his influence by waiting for perfect conditions. He moved when opportunity was there. Yeah, when people hear Genghis Khan's name, And yeah, when people hear Genghis Khan's name, and now when they hear your name, they should think of conquest and leadership and many, many positive adjectives. You want to have clarity of purpose. You want merit over status. You want systems over emotions. You want to be adapt. You want to be adaptable. You want to be prepared for anything, and you want to take calculated fearlessness risks. You don't need to build an empire, but you just need structure and a few simple principles, and you just stick to those. It's very, very simple to just stick to those things. And the lesson isn't to copy history, but it's essentially understand the principles behind it and take these items. So we're so fortunate that we can see thousands of years of mistakes and success and adapt that to our own. And this is the time to actually build something useful. Remember, there's a warrior in everyone, and sticking to our guns will lead us a long way. All right, see you.